You cannot win if you do not try. This is Cab Vaal orbing a whole stash tab of amulets. I've never rolled a +1 curse, thought I'd have a go. I chose decent amulets. I alt spammed and crafted these to be quite reasonable, and some of them are unique, some are quite good amulets that I had crafted in previous leagues. So we'll see how I go. The first part of the video I'll just be going over the statistics of the results, and the second half I'll go over things in a little more detail. So of the 144 amulets that we Vaal, we ended up with 48 with special implicits, of which 9 were quite good and 39 were unimpressive or highly specific. We also ended up with 96 amulets with unchanged implicits. Now 61 of those also had unchanged affixes, which means those amulets will basically not change at all. It just means they can no longer be modified. And we had 35 amulets with completely changed affixes, and 30 of those were just terrible, so they're wrecked. And we had 5 that just by chance ended up being quite good. This graph just breaks down the results into percentages. For example, if you look at the second column, the minus physical damage taken from attacks was achieved for 3.5% of the amulets, and the far left column shows that no special mod was achieved in 66.7% of cases. I'm not showing the bricked amulets in here, but it's just worthwhile comparing the odds of getting a result on the implicit versus no result at all for the implicit. And beyond that, getting the actual implicit that you want, which might be a +1 frenzy for example, is really quite abysmal. So what I've done is I've arranged all of the results by column, so each column represents a different mod, and you can see that some results are more common than others. Not that this is really statistically meaningful, but it makes some kind of sense. So the first column here is really useless. It's minus physical damage taken, and the rolls are so low that these are useless unless you're a very low level character. And it's the most common mod that I got. Next column, chaos resistance. Definitely better than nothing. If it's on an amulet with an implicit mod that isn't really helpful, like a gold amulet, then you know it's a positive result. I kind of like this one because I use this amulet a lot, and I'd rather the chaos res than the dex. Moving to attack speed, I think that this is one of the best mods you can get. It's common to a lot of builds. A lot of people try and stack it. I'm not sure people really search for attack speed corrupted amulets. They probably don't, but it's a pretty good damage boost. I was very lucky that on my favorite amulet, this was probably the best amulet that I subjected to a Vaal orb risk, I got attack speed. Now this was normally mana regen as the implicit, which is not very helpful. So I'd say the value of this amulet increased by quite a lot. Not that I'm going to sell it, not that people are really going to search for that, but it's a pretty big damage boost for certain builds. Elemental damage with weapons, I just think that the rolls are too low to be significant. Not sure what the max roll is. I'm sure it's not 11. If max roll was 20, it might be interesting, but you can roll up to 42% as an affix, so getting another 5-10% on top of that, not a big deal. Clarity, I think this is worthless. There's so many better auras and curses to run. I don't know why. I mean, I know why people run clarity. It's always been a temporary thing for me, and it's so common that no one's gonna pay much for clarity on an amulet. Damage taken gained as mana. Not sure what to say about this. Doesn't seem very special. I was wondering if it can be applied to a situation where you damage yourself and therefore you have another way of regenerating mana. Not really sure. I think it's probably worthless. Spell block, I think this could be quite good. Some people do build around block chance, so on this amulet I think it's a positive. Unfortunately the int was kind of a nice thing to have if this was for an energy shield character, but we got some spell blocks. So this is an amulet that I would keep and maybe try and sell, and a couple of others on bases which aren't very good, to be honest. Just block chance, not really sure what to say. You know, pretty easy to get that on a jewel, right? Every little bit adds up, I guess, in a block build, but I don't know. I think again they've got to be on the right base, and to me it's not very special. Movement speed, I really like these ones. I think movement speed is a fantastic defense mechanic, but you still need it to be in a good amulet, and these amulets are just not really very good. This one's okay, I suppose, but we've got a terrible roll on the move speed, so you know, I like the roll, but it's got to be on the right amulet. But definitely something that I would be happy to get in general, because it's ubiquitous, it's useful for any character, whereas a lot of these mods are only useful for certain builds. I think 14% chance to avoid being frozen is pretty useless. Purity of lightning, purity of fire, I think these are useful. Be nice if they were a higher level. You know, kind of saves you a jewel slot, but you probably want it to be on a pretty good amulet. It's just a little bit of a bonus thing to have. You know, you roll a map where you suddenly need a bit of extra fire defense, you can just activate it based on this amulet instead of fishing around for the gem in your inventory. Coming to these ones down here in the corner, the minion damage I think is actually pretty good. I'm just, you know, it's hard to say what kind of amulet you want. I'm sure there are some unique amulets designed for summoner builds to just get it on a generic rare. I'm not sure it's very useful. This one is probably useless because of the weapon roll, and not sure actually if the spell damage really affects minions. I don't know much about summoner builds, but the fact that you can get this I think is very interesting. Over here we have the +1 frenzy charge amulets, which I was lucky enough to get 2. Not sure if that's luckier than normal, but I was quite pleased to get these. Funny bases, both uniques. So I price checked this, and you know, in standard you can buy one of these for about 45 chaos right now. I'm talking about with this cropped mod. I guess the amulet without the +1 frenzy is, you know, probably just a 1 item, not really sure. And haven't priced, oh, I did price check this. I think this was more like a 15 chaos item with the mod, so you know, added some value here. Not really sure what kind of builds would benefit from these, but you know, this one's kind of nice because you get the cast speed on the amulet and extra cast speed on the frenzy charge, and I think that's a pretty well rolled unique. So you know, it's interesting to look at the block chance applied to spells, which is 50%, whereas up here, you know, it's only 2 or 3%. So Kind of makes this look a little insignificant. So these are interesting. I'll probably try and sell them. These ones in the corner are just elemental damage leech to life. This is the best one, just because it was a decent amulet, pretty good defensive amulet. So pretty ubiquitous for a lot of builds. I guess as long as it's life based or hybrid based, perhaps would be better. If you have a cold damage attack, you can get a little bit of leech. Better than nothing. We got some lightning and some fire, but this one, the fire damage is on a lightning damage amulet. It just shows you need some good RNG to get the match. Got one on a unique. I could potentially use this in my magma totem build, except it would try and leech it to the totem, which isn't quite what you want. So yeah, that's about it. You may have noticed I didn't get a +1 curse amulet. I got to admit, I was really hoping to get one, but I'm kinda in a way glad that I didn't, because it's meant to be a very difficult thing to get, and if you could just roll them with only 140 odd Vaal orbs, that might be a little bit too facile.